Now, none of you, I don't think, have been around as long as I have as it relates to this program, because I remember 20 years ago interviewing Leighton Ford. Leighton Ford, as you know, is Billy Graham's brother-in-law, and was very much attached to Billy's ministry for many, many years. And when I talked to him 20 years ago, he was telling me about his vision for leadership and the need to cultivate and develop leaders across the U.S. and Canada. Little did I know that Arrow Leadership, as it became, would still be alive and well and thriving and having its 20th anniversary. And indeed, it's going to be a big event because George Barna is going to be there. Carson Pue is going to be there. And I've interviewed Carson before. George has been featured on this show before. So I'm kind of welcoming you back to the show, both of you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a joy to have you. Carson, 20 years. How long have you been involved with Arrow?
16 years.
16 of the 20?
Yeah.
You know, when it began, did you have any idea that it would have the shelf life that it's had?
I actually thought that I would work myself out of a job in about 10 years, feeling that if we can really invest in leaders and they invest in more leaders, that perhaps it wouldn't have a 20-year lifespan. What I hadn't factored into that was how much life in leadership around the church would change in that period of time. And as George has known and has studied, the complexities around leadership today are extreme. And so in many ways there's a greater need for Arrow now than there was when Leighton had envisioned it.
Now, you've written a new book. Let's show it to our audience here. It's called Mentoring Wisdom, or is it just Wisdom? Mentoring Wisdom or Wisdom Mentoring?
Yeah, Mentoring Wisdom.
Mentoring Wisdom, Living and Leading Well, Dr. Carson Pue. This word mentoring has become a bit of a buzzword. It's really something that's just kind of emerged in the last maybe 10 years or so. Is it more than a buzzword? Is it more than a fad, or is it just another way of talking about leading by example? How do you understand the word?
Yeah, I understand mentoring really to be holistic discipleship. It's engaging a person in every aspect of their life and walking alongside them during that. It's what Jesus practiced with his disciples. So it didn't have that name at the time. And I'm not sure if it's as much of a buzzword today as it was even 10 years ago. However, the practice of coming alongside and walking with people and sharpening them, polishing them in their life and in their leadership is something that's still deeply needed by all of us, actually.
Now, George, just in case people are meeting you for the very first time, you have become sort of the gold standard in certainly the evangelical world, at least, for your amazing surveys. You've written so many books. You really are looked to as the authority. You're quoted by pastors all across the country, as you know, week in and week out, with what you're finding out about the church and finding out about faith and its progress or its digress, all of that. Have you ever done a survey on leaders and leadership?
Oh, we've done quite a few. That's been one of the hot buttons for me.
Has it?
Well, because, I mean, no organization can go beyond where its leaders take it.
Right.
So leadership is critically important to determining what's the future going to be like. The future doesn't just happen. Somebody has to create it. And leaders are so instrumental in determining what that future is going to look like.
Now, recently Steve Jobs died, one of the most influential men in the world. There's very few of us who have been impacted by his genius and his work ethic and all of that. Was he a good leader?
There's two schools of thought on that.
And I asked that question deliberately because his biography says he's mercurial, he's manipulative, he romances people and then casts them aside, anything to achieve his ends. Is that leadership?
Yeah. Well, it's one approach to leadership. I'm not sure it's the most effective. I think Steve's greatest contribution as a leader was his capacity for casting vision. People within his organization, and then as he had the opportunity to communicate that widely, people caught the vision of what could be and gave him and his people the opportunity to use technology really to re-engineer much of what we do in our society today. So he had a dramatic impact, and I think, if anything, Steve's life teaches us the impact of vision, that you cannot be a life-changing leader without that kind of vision at the center.
But this raises a very interesting question, and both of you, I think, should weigh in on this. Can a visionary be a mentor? Because a visionary is out there. A visionary is sort of a citizen of another planet. It seems to me that mentoring requires some kind of intentionality, some kind of management that isn't necessarily something that the visionary wants to do.
I've experienced visionary leaders who I think can be good mentors. Some have the ability to see where they want to have the organization or the ministry go, and they're also capable of stepping it out to get there. That's not the case for everyone, but I think it's possible to be a visionary leader and to be a good mentor. If you try to combine that with your conversation about Steve Jobs, that may be a different story. But
do you agree?
Well, you know, our research has shown that there are 4 different types of leaders. So you've got directing leaders who are the big picture, visionary, great communicator, very motivating types. You've got strategic leaders who are kind of the back room. Let's think it all through. Let's play the different scenarios out, make some wise choices. You've got team building leaders who are really people, and their whole function is to mobilize people around a vision. Then you've got operational leaders who are people who put together systems and try to make things efficient, not just effective. So given those 4 types of leaders, some of those are better mentors than others. Strategic leaders, team building leaders, operational leaders, typically much better at mentoring than a directing leader. But there are some directing leaders who have elements of those other types of leadership in their makeup, which enables them to be an effective mentor.
Okay.